Hey everyone, welcome to the Leeds View podcast for the second podcast of the week. A slightly different one tonight. We're going to have a look at the transfer shortlist, or at least every single player that has been linked with Leeds United between the end of the January transfer window and right now. And I've got Andrea Russo with me to have a deep dive into this. Now, the caveats on this are simple. These are players that have been linked at this point. They may very well just be rumors. Some of them might be very true. Some of them may not be. I've even included the one that we got here, just so we're all on the same page. And we'll see at the end of the summer window when they all close what these look like. But the purpose of this list, it more than anything else, is to see, does a short list start to emerge of the positions Leeds are potentially looking at this year? Leeds always say they do their short list 6 months in advance. And some of the contacts and some of these journalists who may not get it right, self-included, might have printed this stuff in good faith in as far as they've heard from agents or they've heard from intermediaries. And that can very easily just be a club sussing out a player. So there may have been some level of interest. And that's why I always say there's varying levels of interest in a player. It's not all a guarantee that they're concrete offers or anything like that at this point. However, we have got a few sponsors just to give you a quick update on. We are partnered with OK Jersey. You can get 8% off World Cup shirts for a World Cup summer using the code TView in your shopping basket. Order a size up if you are. And if you want to download Finalysis, you can do that for free. And we'll use those match ratings on our podcast and on our social medias for all of the player ratings for Leeds. Just fan ratings from Leeds United fans only. No algorithms, nothing like that. So you can download that in the link below if you want it. Right, let's check in with Andrea first before we get into this. You've got the caveats, you've got the list, you understand the parameters of what we're talking about tonight. Andrea, how are you, mate? How's things?
Good, mate. Especially after achieving mathematically safety. So I think we are a little bit relieved that everyone was, after we're a bit relaxed, after especially after that performance, at Spurs, shows that we were really a commitment to the league, honestly, and to its balance and competition. Unlike other teams like Aston Villa when they played against Spurs. But it was good, it was good to see that we are still going. But yeah, outside of football, we've been a little bit busy here in town, because we had a historical visit from the Princess of Wales. So for a very small town, 2-day visit to study for a foundation, the childhood approach, it's a very peculiar one. It's called Reggio Emilia approach. Takes the name after our town, of course. It's been studied and exported, to the US since 70s, 80s, various countries. Now I think they're going to try for a foundation to export it to the UK, of course, too. But Reggiana have been relegated.
I was going to say, you got close to staying up, though. You got very close.
Yeah, we won the game. Sampdoria didn't pay raise, to be fair. Won the game, but needed to happen that Spezia had to beat Pescara, but they didn't. They draw. Catanzaro had to beat Bari. They lost. So it didn't happen, and now it's all like a chaos. There's a lot of similarities between the current season of Reggiana to the season of Leeds 2022-2023, because they did a transfer window in January for the manager. Then one game after the transfer window ended, sacked him, like it happened with Marsh. Then got another one that was out of a job for God knows how long, Same like Avigracia, Rubinacci, the one that we got. Then sacked him and went to an old-fashioned one, Allardyce and Bisoli, and the ending was the same. So, it was like relieving everything once again, with different colors, of course.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. I did keep an eye on the result on the last day of the season. I was watching it. I knew you were ahead of Pescara at that point, and I was thinking, just if Barry can mess up now, you have a chance here. But probably left it a little bit too late. But yeah, it goes to show clubs without a plan just throw stuff at the wall. Doesn't always work. I mean, the Spurs have got away with it a little bit with De Zerbi after going down the road of Igor Tudor, who you, by the way, did say wrong appointment. It won't work, and it didn't work. So shame they didn't stick with him a couple of weeks longer. But I'm glad we got a good result.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Because honestly, the Zerbi, I still think it wasn't the right appointment, but they've been saved by Anthony Kingsley at Wolves. Against us, I don't think they were great. They weren't great for me. It's not a Zerbi team yet. He has little time, but who knows? Maybe West Ham needed to pick up some points earlier now, because it's all very open. It's 50-50. Honestly, you cannot write down who goes down, honestly, because West Ham, Newcastle, Chelsea, Tottenham. Then, of course, final of the season, Tottenham, Everton, and West Ham, Leeds. So it's 50-50. It's even. I don't know who will go down. Honestly, I think Spurs will learn from a season in the Championship, because they made endlessly mistake. Same goes for West Ham probably, but Spurs probably will make, like, it will be like, not in that sense because they have way more titles, but River Plate when they were relegated, in 2011. Yeah, 2011 I think it was.
I like River Plate. I've always had a soft spot for River Plate. I've always liked them. It goes back to Enzo Francescoli way back when. But that's yeah. Me as a kid, loved them. The Prince, absolutely loved them as a footballer.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a bit to talk about, and we're going to get into this in as much detail as we can. And I'd say, look, we know the season hasn't kicked off yet. The transfer season hasn't kicked off yet, so we don't know where any are going to go. We're just having a conversation about it, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I suppose the best place to start, Andrea, is now that we're safe, the planning can go to the next phase, which is making the approaches and starting to try and line up a few players. The World Cup is going to get in the way of this. It's going to stick itself in the middle, and players are going to be away. So signing is going to be very difficult to do during those couple of weeks the World Cup is on. It will delay things, but Leeds tend to move relatively slowly in transfer windows. They do a couple at the very start, usually the freebies, the easier ones to get done. Then there's a period of time of nothing, and then there's a couple of more flurries, and then ultimately we get to deadline day, and we've got airplanes parked on runways with nobody getting on them. So that's the normal mode for Leeds. Given how well last summer's transfer window has gone, now that we can look back at it and say, yeah, look, these players have all had a really good season. You then look at the previous summer transfer window as well, and you put both of those together, and you look at the squad that Leeds have had in the park this year. For me, I think the recruitment team have got a bit of credit in the bank coming into this window, and I will trust them a little bit. I've seen a bit of content already, people criticizing players that have been linked with Leeds already. At this moment in time, I'm not going to be one of those people, because I think, do you know what, right now, very easy could have criticized the bulk of the signs we brought in last summer. Look how well they've done. Trust the process and see where this one goes. But as a squad build, we know players are going to leave this summer. Sam Byram's pretty much indicated he's probably going to head off when his contract expires. Kearns out of contract. We'll talk about Carl Darlow in a bit more detail in a minute. Ilan Meslier is going to leave the club. There's question marks around Pascal Stroke's future. We'll see what happens there as well. Where do you think Leeds need to strengthen, or what are the obvious positions that we think Leeds will need to strengthen before we get to a shortlist? And do you think it's a case that Leeds will bulk out the squad a little bit, because it did look a bit threadbare against Spurs with a couple of injuries? Or do you think Daniel Farke will just want to replace the ones that leave with better quality versions of that and keep that squad relatively compact?
I think we will try to bulk a bit. It will be very different for Farke, because he always work like Bielsa used to do, with a smaller squad of players, a core group of players. We've seen that this season, and it has worked, because once he made the new signings, adjust, and he switched to the new system, many players thrived and improved to that, tailored some roles like Aronson's role, Okafor, if I remember Okafor at the start of the season, autumn maybe, completely different player for the current one. Stack goes the same for Stack, absolutely. So yeah, even Gudmundsson, Gudmundsson, maybe 3, 4, 5 games where he needed to adjust, then absolutely started to fly, and became a leader in this team. Maybe not a mentality leader in terms of bringing what Ampadu brings, both a technical leader and a reliable leader in terms of consistency. But yeah, it's always been my argument. I think the signings that we made were good. I remember when we signed Biol, I said, I don't think he'll work in a back four, but
and
good
he didn't.
in a back three, because he was always used. With Slovenia they play with a back four, of course, and now they've changed the manager, but he was always covered to his side. While if you play in a back four like Leeds did under Farke, you are very exposed. I remember against Sunderland when he was attacking a 1v1 against Agdingra on the left hand side. So yeah, every single signing, apart from Bonanotte, of course, maybe Borna, but he's been reliable, when called upon. He wasn't brought in to be a starter, in the end. So he did what we brought him to do. every single signing in the end worked. But I always advocated that we needed probably 2 or 3 more, in order to avoid what is happening in terms of having gaps, when a player gets injured, or having competition because Gudmundsson has been injured. I've adapted Justin when Rodon's been injured, and Bornau was injured at the same time. We adapted Justin there. We are at the stage where if DCL and Mecha gets injured, Piro won't play, but Justin will be the number 9. Because Justin is being the Dallas in the
Dallas.
team.
Yeah,
it's been the Sir Dallas in the team. He's playing every position basically. Because right now, if you look at that, we finished the game at Spurs with Bornau, Rodon, and Biol, and there was no other centre back on the bench. So I always even Ampuru, there's no replacement for Ampuru right now because Groove is injured, of course, and Stack is playing in a different position. So I think the need to bring more depth is there, but the depth will also mean replacing the leading players with players that can be more versatile, probably can play in different positions, but also at the same time seeing the need to have proper naturals players in that position. For example, we have Strauk, of course, is out of contract in 2027, so that would be a big talking point with his contract. You have to offer him, of course. You have to try to extend his contract because otherwise you risk to lose him for 0, or you have to sell him if the negotiations stall this summer. But Strauk, Biol, Rodon. The problem is that if you look at the replacements, there's Sebastian Bornau. So of course there needs to be more room for squad depth there, because in the end we've seen how demanding the league is, and it's a testament to what we did, honestly, the fact that operating with a smaller squad with injuries, players that needed time to get back in form. Look at Longstaff, for example, he needed a very long time to get back to his to his form, after this injury. So it's a testament the fact that we managed to both get safe, but also get to the semi-final of the FA Cup. So that shows you how good Farke worked with these players and how the players are following. Last night I watched on Netflix the documentary of Domenech and the French squad in 2010. The rift, that emerged between them. The players weren't following him anymore. And every time I hear an interview, listen to an interview, I've listened to Stack, to Walker, listen to everybody spoke very highly about Farke, so it shows how tight the work group is. So but we need to add more depth.
We do. Bial's given him a huge amount of credit this week as well. He talked about that he creates the character and doesn't let them settle and doesn't let them relax. Goodmanson's talked about how competitive the dressing room is and how competitive training is, and he does not let it drop below that competitive level. So there's question marks over how he manages the younger players, but that's a maturity thing, and that needs to just look. Not every manager manages every category of player the right way, but I think in general, when you look at what he's done this year, he's managed to bring in a group of new players that weren't necessarily from this league and get them to mesh very well with the existing squad that he's got. He talks an awful lot about getting the right characters in the dressing room, and it's at times like this, and we've seen with Spurs and West Ham and their struggles this year, Wolves as well, when it's not going your way. That's when the character kicks in, and we've seen Leeds come from behind so many times this season to get results, and we've seen it when they went through that bad spell, about the fact that they all just, got together to change the system. Help Bial said that himself during the week, that this change the system allowed them to feel a bit more comfortable, but then they just all pushed the same way, and they've been pushing the same way all season. So it's good. It's great to see. Andrea, what positions would you upgrade if you were upgrading right now? What would you say? Let's say just 5 positions that Leeds are looking to bring in the summer. I don't think they need any more than that from a starting position, but in general,
5. Okay.
Yeah.
Just 5.
So can be less than 5 if you want more than 5, but just the primary positions that Leeds need to strengthen in.
If they have to be 5, the main 5, of course, goalkeeper. For me, because I don't think Dalo will stay. I think and Perry, depends on the situation of Perry, of course. Then number 8, right winger or right playmaker, depends on the type of player you bring in. Another number 9 to challenge DCL, so that's 4. And the other main need for me is the replacement, the backup left wing back for Gudmundsson. That one. These are the main 5. Of course, I will bring in more centre backs too. And I think the need is there to wingers, because I think some wingers will go out eventually, either on loan or on a permanent. So I think we need to bring in two wingers, not just one, but the main five. Yeah, goalkeeper, number 8, 9, left wing backup, of course, and right winger. Yeah,
that seems to add up. What do you think he's going to do with the attacking positions? And again, we're just talking hypothetically here at the moment, but he hasn't played with orthodox wingers this season, which is probably what's limited Willie Nanto and Dan James. Although I do think Willie Nanto could play more central. Would like to see him play more of a central player. I think he's got it in his locker. But do you think he goes with wingers and tries to get back to his preferred 4-3-3 formation at some point? Or does he stick with that 3 at the back and maybe bring in 2 alternative number 10s, wide players / number 10 to play him behind a striker?
That one. I think he'll go towards a mixed approach like now, with a more direct now. He wasn't at the start, but now he's turning that form up, Okafor. So I would like to see at least one player on the right that's very similar to what Okafor brings to the table. So a very direct 1v1 player that can play both wide, but also get inside and play like a second striker when needed, when we play with a midfield trio with the Tanaka, Stack, and Ampadu. But also bring in a similar one to Aronson. Yeah, definitely can see that, because we signed Buonanotte, hasn't worked for him, of course. So that shows that they wanted to bring in that type of player, but he wasn't him, like they used to say. They used to say in the US, he wasn't the player that was tailored in the end. Maybe character, I don't know. Maybe the training intensity. It's not him, the player that we want, but definitely can see the room for a similar player once Buonanotte gets back to Brighton at the end of the season,
Okay, that's an interesting one. I agree with you. Yeah, I would like another 10. I think we need another profile of 9, maybe even 2, depending on what they decide to do. If Joe Pirro leaves, they want cover for DC out of competition. The Metches kind of played in a hybrid role as well. I would like to see another CDM come in, or deep line playmaker. That could do something there. I think we need cover at centre back. I don't know what he's going to do with the goalkeeper situation, but I think the obvious choice is give that Carl Darlow at least a year extension, if not a 2-year extension. He's a goalkeeper. He's probably got a couple of years left. He's been very good this year. Whether he thinks he can go and play first team football guaranteed next season somewhere else, that'll be a question mark. What he wants to do, if he wants to back himself and move on. But it's probably the place we'll start, Andrea. So again, putting on the screen.
Yeah.
Not all of these, as I say, are this player is definitely coming to Leeds. No, actually, none of them are the case right now. These are players who have been linked with Leeds since January, trying to see if they fall into some form of a shortlist. And what's interesting of the players that we've just said that we think Leeds need, the bulk of these fall into those categories. So it is kind of starting to look like, if nothing else, these players do fit what Leeds are lacking. Now, the other caveat to put on this is going to be, do they fit the Leeds United recruitment model? And that model for the last 2 years has been, ideally, not every single one, but in the ideal, 26 to 28 years of age, 6 foot, or as close to 6 foot or over as they can possibly get, and heading into the final year of their contract where Leeds could get some value for them as well. That freebies are good as well, because as Jose Mourinho said at Champions League final about 5 years ago, players are smart now and they're going to let their contracts wind down and they're going to pick their next move. And some players have already been starting to do it in the last 2 years, and we benefit from a few of them last season. So in the goalkeeping department, so far from what I've been tracking, and I'm not covering Football Insider at all, they're just not on the list because there just isn't any point.
Wise choice. Yeah.
They have a 0% track record. And like, if you want to do something at the end of the year, at the end of the window on what they've said, I just don't cover them, because I did the first year I did this, zero hit rate. So there's just no point in talking about it at all. On the goalkeepers one, we've got James Trafford, who's been linked a couple of times. The first link for James Trafford, and that's where these are all linked to, the first outlet that linked them to Leeds, was linked by Team Talk. The Team Talk have linked about 6 players to Leeds, and that's outside of the likes of Graham Bailey working with them, who've linked another 3 or 4 players at this point, and there's possibly 1 or 2 missing. But James Trafford of Manchester City, he looks like he's going to move on this summer. He's not going to be second choice to Donnarumma.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like he wants to be happy with just playing in the FA Cup, but there will likely be interest in him from Newcastle, Aston Villa, and a few other clubs who wanted him last summer. Saul Bryn came via a link to us, and I will put my hands up on this. We were contacted by somebody who said Leeds United were interested in Saul Bryn. I spoke to his agent, and his agent would either confirm nor deny, but said there was some level of interest in him. and that's where the Saul Bryn one came from. That's about the extent of that one. Nick Pope was linked from Sports Boom recently. He's obviously with Newcastle United. There's the James Trafford sliding door there. If Newcastle get James Trafford, Nick Pope will likely leave. But he's not had the greatest of years by his own standards. Struggled this year. They brought in Aaron Ramsdale as well this year at Newcastle. So Nick Pope's not had the best year, although he's had some very good years before this year. And Dmitro Rizniak from Shakhtar Donetsk, he was linked via transfer feed. You can check him out if you want it. I'll give you some detail on these players as well, because I do have an Excel spreadsheet and it's worth having a look at. Of those four, Andrea, I mean, it's probably going to be none of them four, but it's an interesting looking four, especially the James Trafford and Nick Pope ones.
Yeah, absolutely. These are logical links, because in the end, like you said, Trafford wants to play more. When he returned to Man City, in the end, the normal wasn't there yet. So I think he had different expectations, especially after the promotion with Burnley. The fact that they won under 21 Euros, he was the goalkeeper of the tournament, was really, really good in that tournament. And usually the last 2 years, the Euro under 21s have been very, very good. There's been a very good surge in quality. And Trafford has been also involved with the England senior team. Of course, we've seen goalkeepers that weren't playing called up recently since Tuchel took over, like Jason Steele. Johnston used to be on the Southgate keepers that weren't playing. But yeah, Trafford, a younger one doesn't want to sit on a bench, and I think everyone can agree with him. Looking at what he's shown at Burnley, and he's shown that he can be a starter and can be a top goalkeeper in the Premier League. So that's a logical one. You look at the teams that will benefit from that kind of goalkeeper, especially clubs that want to grow gradually, like Leeds. So that is a logical choice, a choice that I've made in my FC 26 career mode. I sold Perry after the season and they brought in Trafford, and he's still my goalkeeper in 2028 or 29. I don't remember now. It's been a while since I last played. Yeah. He's been my starting goalkeeper, But yeah, even Nick Pope, like you said, there's been this dualism with Ramsdale, hasn't had the best season. It's a player that has full of experience now. It's not young anymore, It's been a very reliable one. There was also call when I don't know, maybe Euro 2024 or the previous World Cup, about give the starting spot to Pope instead of Pickford for England. Yeah. So it was really good in those season. But of course, another keeper, if he's not playing, it's logical to link him to another club in the Premier League that will benefit from that kind of keeper. But these two, I think they can aim for maybe Pope, but even Pope, I think they can aim for higher clubs, especially because Pope, Newcastle have played in the Premier League recently, in the Champions League, recently, and maybe even a Europa League side. I think Pope can have offers too from maybe abroad, thinking about Bundesliga. That's a keeper that will benefit from some clubs in the Bundesliga will benefit from that kind of keeper. But yeah, Riznik, I've seen him from Shakhtar in the Conference League. There's some good. Yeah, there's some good Ukrainian goalkeepers. There's also contents for number one spot. Lurin Trubin from Real Madrid, Trubin from Benfica. Used to be Bushchan. Now it's moved to Zitomir, I think. But yeah, I don't know if he's the right fit of a goalkeeper. It's like the type of goalkeeper for Leeds, if that was bound to happen. The one that I like the most, the more realistic or logical one, especially because now we don't know what's going to happen with the Spygate scandal. Yeah. Now I've seen the press release of the EFL that there's rumors about the postponement of the playoff final because of what's happening. So Middlesbrough will continue to train, at the training ground. Maybe Southampton will be kicked out of the final, and Middlesbrough will be readmitted in their place and play against all. But the one I like the most, actually, if I have to choose, and I'm not saying this because you were the one saying that.
You don't have to choose at all.
I want to show that. Yeah, no, I want to show that because I know, I've been in this business for quite a while in Italy, so I know how people reason. I'm not saying this because of Jer. Saul Bryn is the one I will like the most. Honestly, the more viable one, I think. Yeah, that's the word.
Yeah, there's interesting similarities between Saul Bryn and Rizniak as well. They're both around the same age. Bryn's 25, Rizniak's 27. They're not what you'd call giants of goalkeepers. I mean, Rizniak's what, 6'2". I think Saul Bryn's about 6 foot as well. Now I'm 6'4", so I'm saying they're not giants, but like in general, that's not huge for a goalkeeper, especially when you look at the height that you've got with Lucas Perry, for example. Rizniak far more of a sweeper keeper. There's an awful lot more playing with his feet. I think he's kept 16 clean sheets this season as well. But he is playing for one of the top sides in the Ukrainian Premier Division. So you have to take that into consideration as well. Saul Bryn's been interesting. There's been some people this season talked about Saul Bryn and they bigged him up and think he's going to be a fantastic keeper. There's people saying he's a future England goalkeeper, potentially. You know, goalkeepers don't peak till they're close to 30 years of age. Look at Jordan Pickford. He's well into his 30s at this stage now, and he's still the England number one and probably likely to be for at least one more tournament after this one. But then there are those who say some Borough fans would drive Saul Bryn to your house, you know, just to move him on this summer. And it's a strange one, but they've had a weird season, Middlesbrough. Like they were in the automatic spots and looked like they were shoo-in to be guaranteed automatic promotion, fell away completely, got back going again at the end of the season. And unfortunately last night, obviously lost out. Depending on what happens with that Spygate situation, it's going to be interesting. But if it's a case that Leeds are looking at 2 goalkeepers this summer, if it is a case that Darlow does move on, and if Lucas Perry decides he wants to go as well and Leeds have to bring in 2, I could definitely see Saul Bryn as a player Leeds could bring in as a second choice goalkeeper and keep him for a couple of years to move into that space then maybe in a few years' time. But again, I'm not even going to claim that this is guaranteed to happen. It may not happen, but there's not a huge amount of goalkeepers being linked with Leeds United at the moment. We know that Farke's choice last season was Milinkovic-Savic. You're not getting him this season. There's just no way he's had a very good season. So forget about that one completely. So it's still a position for me that if I look at those 4, I could see James Trafford easily on to Newcastle or Aston Villa. Saul Bryn, I don't know. It depends on their situation. Nick Pope, I don't necessarily think it's an upgrade right now. And when we are, Rizniak has got a lot of good elements about him. But again, it's a different league. It's a different level of pressure. The Leeds shirt's really heavy. We saw that with Lucas Perry, who came in with a lot of accolades in terms of what his manager thought of him at Lyon last season, described him as one of the best goalkeepers in the world. He was knocking on the Brazil national team door, and then he comes to Leeds and it just doesn't work immediately for him, and it can take longer. Maybe he sticks around, maybe he has a better better season next season, but that remains to be seen. We'll move on then. We're going to the defenders. There's tons of midfielders and defenders being linked. Now, of these, by the way, just to say, Matt Targett has also been linked. He's not on this list because, I'll be completely honest with you, I forgot to add him. So I'm telling you now, Matt Targett's another one as well. In this, the bulk of the players that are being linked are either centre-backs or left-backs, which, again, to what we talked about at the start, kind of fits to what Leeds are looking at. There is a right-back in there as well in Gertrude, but he can also play left-back as a 2-foot footballer, so he falls into that James Justin bracket as well. Again, the outlets are on the right-hand side here. You can take them with a pinch of salt. You can believe them. You can discard them. You can do whatever you want with them. But they're there just to keep track of, again, the initial outlet that linked these players to Leeds. Ross Sykes was linked very early on in this window, back just after the last window closed from Team Talk and from USG. He's obviously a British centre half as well. He's 6'7" in height. Like, he's an absolute giant of a footballer. 27 years of age. Sorry, he's not. He's 6'5". Apologies. 6'5", still a giant. He's got 3 goals this season, is a bit of a threat from set pieces, and his contract runs until the end of the 26-27 season, which is next season. So around 28 years of age, over 6 foot in height, 1 year left on his contract. He's close. So Ross likes the first one. Yeah, Danilo Doki is the next one. So he's been linked continuously since the start of the January transfer window. Florian Plettenberg confirmed tonight that Danilo Doki is leaving Union Berlin on a free transfer in the summer. He's got a stack of goals this season for Union Berlin. He's a very highly rated centre back, a threat from corners, another big lad at 6'2". And gets the odd assist as well. The next one there is Lautaro Rivero from one of my teams that I like, River Plate, linked by Sports Boom. Also, sorry, by the way, Danilo Doki was linked by Tuta Mercato, Team Talk, and Fabrizio Romano. That was the 3 of them around the same time. Lautaro Rivero came from Sports Boom. Again, he's 22 years of age, 6'1", much younger player, definitely one for the future. Footballing centre half. Yannick Schuster has been linked recently from Red Bull Salzburg via Team Talk / Fraser Fletcher. Ladislav Krejci, we've seen that one from Wolverhampton Wanderers. He's been linked via the Express. Terrell Malacia and Cassin Brown are more younger players, both fullbacks that have been linked. Talent Hunter have a great track record, by the way, and they got all the Leeds youth players being linked with Ibrahimovic, Fletcher, and that in January. So they've got a really good track record, and they've said Cassin Brown is a player from Man City that Leeds want this summer. Then the left back positions, Sufyan Al Karawani from Utrecht was linked from African Foot, who are a bit hit and miss. They tend to get the more, the African players relatively right, but they outside of that they do a lot of other speculation as well. That doesn't tend to be on the money. Zaidu Sanusi from FC Porto, which I don't see that one happening. Ignore that source, by the way. And Lucharel Gertrude. Sanusi was linked by Ojogo in Portugal, not by Francesco Andrade. So ignore that. So Ojogo in Portugal linked Sanusi. So of that list, Andrea, we're seeing left backs and centre backs, which, I mean, doesn't take a genius to understand that Leeds probably are short in both those areas.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we said. I think we need more depth for backups, because I still think our starting trio should be Strauk, Biol, and Rodon. So yeah, that's guaranteed for me. We need to look at players that can challenge them, that can be ready, that can rotate. So that's why I think they've linked those kind of players. If I look at these ones on the graphic, I think Sykes, if he was down to a move, I think looking at the link between USG and Brighton, maybe. I think the logical link would be Brighton. So I don't think that's one. Of course, the realistical ones might be Dookie, but because of course Romano talked about him, Plettenberg talked about him. The thing is, I think there's also higher clubs interested, because he had a hell of a season in the Bundesliga. Depends on the player, really.
Interest in him, and Borussia Dortmund are interested in him as well.
Yeah, depends on what the player wants to do. If he wants to play in the Premier League, I think maybe looking at the number of teams interested, he will want guarantees. If he was going to move, if he's going to move to a club of our stature, I don't mean the reputation in terms of club history, etc. I mean the current status that we're in, a club that has avoided relegation, has achieved safety, and now will aim for a mid-table finish. So yeah, that's our current stature right now. The other one I tend to believe, honestly, looking at the Express, is Ladislav Krejci. And I would like that. I know the Leeds fans have a sort of a prejudice after the dive that he made against us, but yeah, it's a pretty good player. I don't remember, but I can check very quickly if he's on loan from Girona. I think he's on loan from Girona.
Yeah, he's on loan from Girona, but there's an obligation to buy.
Okay. There's an obligation to buy.
Yeah, once they've already triggered that obligation by hitting the number that he had to play. So from what I've read up, and again, I'm open to be corrected on this. From what I've seen, he'll be made permanent at Girona, and then Girona's they're moved from Girona to Wolves, be made permanent at Wolves, and then Wolves will sell.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But I would like the player. Honestly, I even tweeted about that at the time. The first time I've seen, I think he was playing for Sparta Prague still at the time. Now he's very young. Compared to other players, of course, he's 20. No, he's not very young. No, actually, he looks younger. 27.
He is 27 years of age, 6'3". Got 2 goals and an assist this year as well. So yeah, I mean, and he was good against Ireland in the Euro, in the qualifier, and the World Cup qualifiers as well. There's 2 of them.
That's what
you were good against Ireland.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, because he's now the captain of the Czech national team, and they changed the captaincy from Souček.
He was very good. I had nightmares about him after the game, because I said his name so much during the watch along that I even said in the commentary, I'm gonna be dreaming about Krejci in my sleep. And then 2 weeks later, Leeds played Wolves, and it was Krejci again. So yeah, he was very good against Ireland for Czech Republic.
Yeah, and the thing is, I said. Actually, I needed to think, because the first time I've seen it was in 2019. When it was playing for Sparta, so time flies. Actually, it was 7 years ago right now. So yeah, and it also ticks another box, because he, at the start of his career, he used to play as a number 6 too. He's really interchangeable. I remember he was very highly rated when he moved from Sparta to Girona. But I really like the player, honestly. Maybe it's not the most aggressive one at times. but he's a player that is really versatile. I like him a lot, honestly, because even when he scored against us, you've seen that that's not the centre back run, the one that he made at Molineux when he scored
not at
against
all,
us.
no.
Yeah, so he's used to play both in the number 6 position because he's played there for the Czech national team, for Sparta. So if you will get a player that can play in 2 positions, and it's always good to have that. We've seen that with James Justin this season. Yeah, Farke likes that, exactly. It will be a very reliable one, a player that is already used to play in the Premier League. Another one that I would like, but yeah, I think it's the same with Gertrude. I think the link is very easy to make because you see
Red Bull.
who's investing in Leeds? Red Bull, exactly.
Yep.
Then
Which
Red Bull Salzburg, Red Bull Leipzig.
Hasn't materialized into anything yet, though, has it? There hasn't been one. I mean, we signed Brendan Aronson from Red Bull and Max Vober before they ever got involved with Leeds United. Since they got involved with Leeds United, there hasn't been any player acquisitions between the two.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. In the end, I don't think that will happen because Schuster is having a good season. Salzburg aren't because Lask Linz won the league in Austria. Gertrude, I think when he returns there, maybe we'll see what happens with Sunderland. Another player that's played in different positions, center back, right back, left back. Yeah, so maybe want to return to Sunderland. I don't know. Sanusi, yeah. Ojogo, actually, I was talking when we were linked to Morita with the Leeds United Portugal. He's a Portuguese fan. We exchanged some messages, on a tweet that I made. And the link was from Obola, from Morita, and he said, no, they're not really reliable yet, lately. Better Ojogo, I think it was. So if it came from Ojogo, probably it's a better link compared to others that we've seen here. But yeah, I don't think that it fixed the characteristics, the criteria that we're looking at Sanusi, honestly, right now.
Yeah, the Sanusi, what is he? 6 foot in height, so he's tall enough. 1 goal, 1 assist this year. Sufyan Al Karawani is an interesting one because if Leeds are looking for more creative aspects as well, I mean, he's got 12 assists this season for Utrecht, but he is playing for Utrecht, and that is, it's an important caveat because the Premier League is not that. So he needs, can he actually take that and bring it over to the UK and actually get something similar to that as well? He's got 2 goals as well, but he was linked very early on again. I think it was March, probably late February, early March when he first popped up. But he's an interesting one as well, and he's got a price tag of about 15 million euro. Gertrude is in around 20 million pounds. The interesting one about Gertrude as well is, according to a report that I read today, Red Bull might need to sell some players because, as you said, season's not gone. Leipzig, yeah. But the whole Salzburg, Leipzig, their mainstay of clubs that they own, there's a possible leveling out of finances there that's needed, and they may have to look at selling some players this summer to try and balance the books a little bit better. So remains to be seen if that means he comes towards Leeds or just head straight back to Gertrude. Go straight back to RB. We'll see. And again, the same then for Schuster as well. Be interesting to see what happens there. But yeah, okay, we'll move on from the defenders. It's an interesting one. There's a few there that are decent. We'll get into the midfielders. Now, I do have Hidemasa Marita's face on the screen for those who are sharp eyes. It's not going away, despite the fact Graham Smith has absolutely totally binned it by saying the club have no interest, retains no interest, made no offer, have not spoke to them, and have literally nothing to do with it. Sebastian Vidal, whose credibility is struggling at the moment, he's got a couple of players linked with Leeds. Not great. He's still running with that being done. Look, we'll find it. I thought it would have been a really good move for Leeds, given his experience for nothing again, but doesn't look like that's the case. But of the midfielders that have been linked so far, from central midfield position, you've got Yassine Tretraoui from Charleroi, from African Foot have linked him. Edward Spertjan is on that list, but he was linked very early after the January transfer window and it failed. He's a strange fish to figure out because he's done 2 interviews where he's basically doesn't have an agent, doesn't understand how transfers work, and if Leeds really wanted him, they would have come and taken him already. So it's odd. And again, depending on how you translate those interviews, it's strange. But Graham Bailey linked him when moved to Leeds. It's probably the first mistake that we're making here. Centre midfield, then Hayden Hackney from Middlesbrough has been linked by Alan Nixon. Now, everything Alan Nixon does is behind a paywall. That should tell you what you need to know. Again, not a massively credible track record. Pavel Suk, another Czech Republic player who had a blinder against Ireland in the World Cup qualifiers. He's more of a centre midfield, attacking midfielder, number 10 position. He was linked by Team Talk. Hidemasa Marita, a CDM, was linked by Ebola. Team Talk, the Daily Mail, and Sebastian Vidal all got on top of that one as well. Emi Buendia, because it wouldn't be a transfer window without Emi Buendia. He was mentioned by Team Talk.
New Ryan Kent, yeah.
The Ryan Kent memorial position goes to Emi Buendia this year. Yeah, Sfera Sandel, we spoke about him during the week, actually, Andrea, from Il Sicolo, central midfielder as well. Interesting one. We'll get into him in a bit more detail, I think, in a second. Kofi Amawako was linked by Build. And Bill's credibility has taken a huge hit over the last 18 months, 2 years. They're not what they used to be. He's currently a CDM playing at Dynamo Dresden. Femi Aziz playing Millwall, a winger. He was linked by One Football, who don't tend to really ever put exclusives out there, but that one did go out there. And then João Gomez at Wolves, Team Talk. It looks like João Gomez is going to go to Atletico Madrid. It looks like that has all but been decided. And Andre, also from Wolves, he was linked by RTS Esporcita in Brazil. That's where that one link comes from. So, Andrea, you've got an eclectic mix of different profiles of midfielders there between CDMs, central midfielders, and 10s. Probably, again, what Leeds will be looking for in those midfield areas. I think Leeds would like to find a hybrid if they can. I don't know if I think any of these will end up anywhere near Leeds. In fact, I don't think any of them will, if I'm being completely honest. And I hope I'm wrong on one or two of them, but it's an interesting looking group of players.
Yeah, it looks like when you go to a shop where you have to make your own salad, you know, you have to choose the ingredients for the bowl. Yeah, you have to choose, like, I want put a little bit of salmon there, a little bit of carrots, you know, when you have to make those bowl, the pokés, you know, these ones. But yeah, I honestly think I'm looking at these names, you know.
Yeah.
Even Titrawi, same for Carvani. I think they're just
It just feels like launching names at a wall, this one, like, and whatever. And these just have to stick for now, but they'll probably fall off in a week.
Yeah, and I think they also go back months ago, you know, or last season or the start of the season, like
February.
Yeah, you know what happened with when I mentioned Poyampalo, like 3 years ago. Like 2 days later, I said, "Oh, I would like Poyampalo." There was like an article on one of the websites, Leeds link to Poyampalo, because they hear the name, they say, "Oh, like it would be good to make a link with Leeds." You know, that's what happened. Even Schultz, you know, me and Loki mentioned him like first in the championship when it was a Victoria Perth, and then again last summer, and now it's been linked all of a sudden. Same with Demirovic too. We mentioned now it's linked. You know,
Demirovic would have been a great. What a signing though! I'd love Demirovic.
I love him. I love him honestly. It's a proper fighter, you know. But out of these ones, maybe Andrea. I don't know if he'll fit into the system. Honestly,
I think so either. Yeah.
I
do like him though as a player. I think he's a good footballer. I think he's a very good centre midfielder. I'd have loved João Gomez. I think he's just a very tidy footballer.
Yeah,
but again, Andre, 5'9", so he picks that bracket. His contract runs till 2029. He's a Brazilian international, so you're getting that. But he will be competing with Ethan Ampadu for that central position, though, wouldn't he? Really?
Yeah, that's what I think. You know, because he's not the fastest, you know, compared to other players that also have like João Gomez. It's more conservative compared to theirs. You know, it's like more like Bellegarde, for example, another one that plays Wolves. But yeah, I will like Femi Aziz too. I think he's a good player, but doesn't inspire me a lot of confidence. Honestly, the fact that One Football all of a sudden had an interest in him, you know. Yeah, I think that there's plenty of journalists for every club in London. You know, usually the news comes out from one of these, you know, like Mirror, Mail, you know, in London, the one that are reporting, or even the reporters of the club in that area of London, you know. So usually comes out in that sense. About Sandal, actually, Il Secco de Cimarrono, the journalist is a close friend, honestly, despite the age gap, you know, because you know that I've lived in Spezia when my father was the CEO of the club between 2005 and 2007. So we kept in touch, you know, and once I started working in journalism, you know, we exchanged a lot of opinions. I even wrote a postword, not a forward, you know, in his book about the 1970s Ajax. So he has a good relationship with with Pacini, Riccardo Pacini, who used to be the director of football of Spezia, Torino. Now he's opened his agency called Scouting Department. He works with a lot of European clubs. They basically ask him, you know, we need this kind of player with these traits, and they have this player that they've scouted, and they offer him, like, this player could be ticking the boxes that you are looking at, you know. So basically, as is written in the article, it says that Spezia, where there's a list of players that Spezia were linked to, that were actually wanting to bring in through the scouting agency. It says that those players that didn't happen, those transfers, because last January, the owner, Tom Roberts, said, we need to operate fiscally conservative, So he blocked every operation that was almost done. So they had struck a deal for Sverre Sandal from FUM for 300k euros, of course, and it was blocked. Then Luton came and took him for around 800k.
Yeah.
And now they apparently
3 times series played.
Yeah, he's not played much. He's not played much there, I've seen him, I've watched him when he was in Norway during these days, of course. Very similar to Anton Stack. Yeah, very similar to Anton Stack. Maybe also similar to Krejci, honestly, type of player. But yeah, if that is happening, I think it has legs, honestly, because I believe I know that Armando won't report it otherwise if it's not a makeup rumor, and he has a very good relationship with Pacini. So if it was authorized to write it, honestly, it has legs,
One of the things I saw about Sandal that I thought was interesting was in one of the articles that was, I think, came from Norway or one of the Nordic countries, and it basically said people are aware of why Sandal isn't playing, and it's not for necessarily footballing reasons. Whatever that means. And I know we had our own situation with Mirko Antonucci a few years ago where basically Cellino had told, I think it was Neil Redfern, stop playing him because if he scores another goal, he triggers an extension to his contract. But one of the articles I read said that there's everyone apparently is very aware why Sverre Sandal isn't playing for Luton, and it's not necessarily got to do with footballing reasons.
Yeah, I've seen some comments from Luton fans, suggesting the same. Like, I'm very surprised he's not playing because, and even Norwegian fans saying, I've seen a comment from a Norse saying, I was very surprised when he moved to League One because for me in Norway, Brann were very eager to sign him. So one of the team, I think they won the league this season, Brann ahead of Bodo. So it tells you a lot. But he also says, I was very surprised because he could have moved to a top club in Belgium or the Netherlands. That was like the route they were looking at. So I think if it happens, it's a very low price, 2 million euros too. So I think it's like, okay, let's invest in a player 22 years old, bring him to Leeds, sending out on loan to the Championship, and maybe next season when he's 23, 24 can return and we can assess him, one season, like what City did with Sverre Nipan. Actually, they signed him from the Norwegian league. They sent him to Middlesbrough. Didn't work out for him. Now he's been at City. Now they will send him out on loan again. This is younger than Sandal, of course, but that's the kind of scenario I'm looking at.
Yeah, and when you think about it as well, because I've seen some of the comments from people saying if they haven't made it by 22, no point in signing them. And then you realize that we didn't sign a lot of our midfielders this season until they were, you go for Anton Stack, he was 28 years of age and we brought him in. So you've still got that 6 years of a development period where peak years are years ahead of him. If you see value in him down the road and you think £2 million, it's not a huge amount of money, bring him in, let him go out and play football, develop. And if he turns into the player we think he is, it's a bargain. If he doesn't, then we can recoup more than the 2 million we spent on him. Then we still make a few quid on him. It's a low enough risk signing if they see potential in him, which again, when you look at the comments around him playing at Oslo, there was a huge amount of people thought he was going to be a big player. So an odd move. We don't know the reasons why he's not playing. But again, as I say, the rumor, and it is just a rumor, is that it's not necessarily footballing reasons. And it may be part of the deal. Maybe it was a case of we was brought in for League One with aspirations of playing in the Championship. And when that didn't look like it was going to necessarily happen, all of a sudden it was, well, we can't really play him anymore because if we do miss out, we're stuck. Money, And that could be the reason. But there seems to be an amicable enough understanding that he's going to leave the club this summer. And again, Spezia are also been linked to him straight away, has been a club that are interested in him straight away. So there is interest in him. We'll see. He's the interesting one of all of them. Just in the interest of time, we'll jump into the strikers real quick because this is another just hodgepodge of names and profiles. Some are similar, some I'd love, some I don't think are even credible. Promise David from USG was linked by Transfermarkt, who don't, again, Transfermarkt is an unusual one to be putting out transfer stories necessarily. Santiago Jimenez was linked in January. AC Milan, Sebastian Vidal. can't see that one happening at all. Jonathan Berghardt from Frankfurt was linked by Sportsboom and Ekram Kanor. Again, Ekram's on it. If Ekram told me it was raining, I would put a t-shirt on and go outside in a pair of shorts. That's simple. Yanis Bergrewi at Estoril was linked by MOT Leeds News. They've got a couple in here, and MOT Leeds News is more of an aggregate site than anything else, but they've got a couple of labeled exclusives, and Bergrewi was one of them. Haris Tabakovic at Gladbach ticks a lot of boxes except scoring goals, which is his issue. And
no, it actually did against us. The only time he scored,
I know, yeah.
Yeah, the only time he scored,
Yeah, well, that's not
us,
unusual. Lorenzo Luca for Nottingham Forest scored against us as well. That's his goal for the year as well. So, yeah, Lewis Openda, who again, I just don't see Lewis Openda fitting Leeds, and given his output in the last couple of years, Calcio Mercato were the initial one linking him. I'll get this name right eventually. Thank you to everybody who's corrected on me. Ayase Ueda or Ueda. Was linked to Leeds from Feyenoord, having a fantastic season at Feyenoord. He was linked by Graham Bailey. Troy Parrott at azballs.ie in Ireland linked him, and Football League World initially, but every journalist and his mother have linked Troy Parrott with Leeds at this stage. AC Milan are rumored to be very interested in him. Kasper Haag and Jens Petter Hauge, both of Bodo Glimt, were both linked by MOT Leeds News. And they're interesting as well. One's a winger, one's a striker. Now, to go through this and give you some, I suppose, profile information on this, if you are to believe, and again, it's always a big if, what Leeds are said to be interested in it, Leeds are looking for another target man and another profile of striker, maybe a second type of striker. Now, if that is the case, you're looking at this list and you're going, Promise David would be a fantastic signing. He would tick a lot of boxes, similar mold to Caverleon, very quick, very physical player. Jimenez, forget about it. The credible ones, Tabakovic, he's at the end of his career. He's not a young man, Tabakovic. If it's the same guy I'm thinking of, which I think he's in his 30s.
Yeah, Borussia Mönchengladbach, yeah. He's he has a very good physique, he's very physical. He's 30.
He's 31. Yeah, he's 31 years of age. So again, it'd be an unusual one. Lewis Openda is 26 years of age. 2 goals this year. He's had an awful season. Yeah. Doesn't fit that target man. Ayeda, Troy Parrott fit the same bracket. Kasper Haag is an interesting one, but I have seen other clubs interested in linked to him. Celtic have been looking at him as well because he's 6'1", scored against Manchester City in the Champions League this year as well. So had a good year. Jens Petter Hauge is a wide player, can also play as a 10, 26, 6 foot in height as well. Both of them would be relatively cheap. People will say, Bodo Glimt played in the Champions League this year. You're not getting them for very cheap. Their home stadium holds 8,500 people. They have to try and bring money in when they can, and that looks like that could be a possibility. Whether it goes to Leeds or not, it's interesting. But of that list, the tall physical bracket, David, Berghardt, Tabakovic, Haag. And of the second type of striker, you're probably looking at Bergrewi, Ueda, and Parrott as that second kind of type of striker. But yeah, again, another hodgepodgey list there, Andrea.
Yeah, I will make a joke. It sounds like every joke has a base of truth behind it. It looks like someone, if wants to create links, one of these random ones, has gone back to watch the scouting reports from January and last summer. Because we mentioned Begraoui, we mentioned Ueda, we mentioned Parrott, of course, and all the other ones. David is my starting number 9 in FC 26.
I love him.
At least, he's the only thing is the pace that worries me about the Premier League, because he's very physical, good finisher. The thing is the
big
pace. He's a box, very powerful shot even from outside the box, but he's a beast in the box, but outside, he's not very versatile and mobile, outside of the box. Jimenez, I can see. Vidal, I don't really believe in Vidal.
No,
Sebastian. But Jimenez is been offered to every club basically by AC Milan because there's no room for him now. He's been injured mainly all season basically.
Struggled,
but he's struggled to regain his form. Burkan, I won't even mention Conor honestly because the source that I don't trust. Tabakovic build, like you said, they've lost a bit of track record, but still a historical publication. Tabakovic, I think we already have different body, different type of player, but we already have Mecha if we want a third choice striker for the Premier League. We need to bring a middle one that can challenge DCL. Openda, it's not the only position he would play in at Leeds right now. The way we play would be
10
as on the left or on the right, in a free role where he can move all around. Parrot, I know, I like him. I will like him a lot, as a player.
Striker,
It'd be very
second
striker again. Yeah, that's he can play, in the position of Walker Forward. Can be a good addition.
He can.
But
it
would be very expensive too. Would be very expensive too, because they're asking, I think, around 30, 35, maybe.
35 million is the rumored price.
Yeah. And the final two.
Wade is interesting though, because Van Persie's the manager. Van Persie's the manager.
Said Van Persie at Feyenoord.
He's gonna go this summer. He said that if he wanted to move, this is the summer for him to move.
Yeah,
sorry, I cut you
like
off
him
as well.
No, don't worry. Ueda, I like him. I've mentioned him in the scouting report in January when we were looking for alternatives for Sven Larsen. He's a good mix. My comparison at the time was taller, more physical, but the way he plays, I compared him to Luciano Becchio. Up front.
Yeah,
that was the comparison I think I made at the time. But I would like Ueda. It would be a good middle ground, between DCL, Mecha, and then we have Ueda. In that case, it would be a good signing. But we'll see. We'll have to wait to see if any source in the Netherlands report the final 2
years. There's 2 years left on his contract. He got 25 goals this season.
Yeah, we already made business with Feyenoord too, with Sinisterra in the past. And there's another player I would like, honestly, there. Anel Ahmedhodzic. I like him. Used to play for Sheffield United. Good player. Hauge, honestly, Hauge, I think his championship level. He scored in the Champions League, but it was linked to Championship club for a reason for me. He's also scored for for Denmark on his debut. In the playoffs, but I think like Kvisgaarden, I think Ronaldo, they're championship players. And Hauge, he will go to the World Cup. Yes, he's a good player. I really like him. Used to play for AC Milan too. But outside of Bodo, he really struggled. Maybe a new chance. It didn't go well for him at AC Milan and Eintracht Frankfurt. But we'll need to see, because the players of Bodo Glimt, they are like a disclaimer. Like look at Bjorkan, went to Feyenoord, I think, to Hertha Berlin, didn't work for him. Patrick Berg, very good. When he moved to Lens, didn't work for him. There's plenty of players that have moved away from Bodo and didn't work for them. The only one probably that has been consistent is Alexander Sorloth. All the other ones have struggled massively when they moved away from Bodo, because Knudsen make them work like a perfect clock. When they are moved to a different mechanism, the majority of them struggle, So that's why a lot of them have returned to Bodo to play there. So I would like Hauge, but there's always this disclaimer. Will he be ready for the step? I don't know.
It's an interesting one. We'll keep tabs on them anyway over the course of the next few weeks and months, and we'll see if any of them end up at Leeds United. I wouldn't put your house on it. You never know. We'll wait and see. But Andrea, massive thanks, mate, for joining us tonight, and a great chance to get your insight into this as well. You can follow Andrea over on X as well. What's your X tag at the moment?
My handle is called my X handle, right? The account and Russo, the lower underscore 14 now, 14, not 16, because that was the old account. So it's 14, like Johan Cruyff.
Oh, nice. And Russo _14.
14,
Andrea over on X if you want it, folks. We'll be back tomorrow morning with the news, and we'll have something out for the preview over on bigup.com for the game on Sunday against Everton. Andrea, thanks again. I really appreciate you joining me.
Thanks.